Well, it was only a matter of time before we ran into some good old-fashioned bullshit. But before we get to that, let's talk about a show that was actually pretty okay. I'm talking about Dunbell Nankiro Motteru, or the only translation that I think is appropriate, Do You Even Lift? A show about sexy girls lifting weights. Now this, I already knew was probably going to be a pretty good time because it's a Dogakobo show. They're putting their all into animating it. Dogakobo generally is a studio you can rely on to have really great, fun character animation and super cute girls. And they deliver on those two fronts. If that was all I needed to enjoy a show, then, they've completely nailed it. As for what the show actually is, it's pretty much exactly the same as, once again, another one of these cute girls do a traditionally masculine hobby, in this case, bodybuilding. You've got a girl who's realizes she's gaining weight and that she needs to lose a little bit before the summer comes around, so she ends up enrolling at a gym that turns out to be a way more serious bodybuilding gym than she was expecting. But because another girl at her school is also going to that gym who is like a super muscle fetishist, they end up enrolling together, also because their instructor is really hot. So they're both in it to oogle this hot instructor and try to, lose weight, gain muscle, get in shape. Now, I know a few guys who have been absolutely in love with the manga of this for years, such as Jaxblade. If you haven't heard of Jaxblade, he is a fitness instructor who does anime videos, usually analyzing the workouts of various anime characters or teaching you how to get similar bodies to those characters. He's doing an episode-by-episode reaction rundown, like trying to compare, how many facts the show gets right about working out and, helping to, further you along if you're watching this show because you're actually trying to get inspired to work out. He's going to help you to, put things more into perspective and give some additional information. So watch that series and subscribe to him if you're interested in that. But, just talking about it as a show, yeah, it has lots of helpful and easily digestible information about working out. Personally, I have grown up kind of surrounded by gym bros, so a lot of what this show has talked about in this first episode is just extremely basic. It's just basics of form, of gym etiquette, of pointing out the fact that if you eat a lot and don't work out, you will gain weight. So if you know anything about fitness or health at all, then at least this episode will be very basic for you. I don't know how much of this continuing manga is just focused on, comedy, just focused on training and, sharing information. It's very similar to New Game from the same studio. The approach that show had to game development is similar to the one this one has to working out. For me personally, I don't know if I find that to be as interesting of a thing to explore. I found myself kind of checking in and out throughout this episode, kind of feeling like it was funny sometimes, and the moments when the animation really kicks up are really great. There is some sexiness to it, but nowhere close to the way it is in the manga. This anime is still very sexual, and they really go all out on the facial expressions to make those exceptionally erotic, which is fine, and they look good, but the fan servicey workout scenes just are toned down compared to the manga, and it kind of seems like in a case like this where the story is fairly thin and the main appeal is just to watch sexy girls work out, emphasizing how sexy the girls are is kind of important. We've basically just traded the higher quality and higher level of sexiness of the art for having the animation, the art design, colors, voice acting, and all of that stuff is good. It's all solid. So, I would say that it's a fair trade depending on if you're more of an anime viewer or more of a manga reader. And, I, as an anime viewer, obviously I didn't bother reading this manga even after it had been recommended to me by several people who I follow. Best Guy Ever, 2 years ago, and Mia Mafifa had a whole video very emphatically recommending this manga. But it seems like the main people who get excited about it are fitness people and people who want a manga to exist that they think will inspire people to want to work out, to want to hit the gym. And I'll say that, watching this episode, There were times where I was like, oh man, this is making me feel pumped. I kind of want to go do some pull-ups. I didn't. I did not plan a diet. I went and got takeout Chinese food afterwards. This kind of trick doesn't really work on me. So it didn't really do anything like that to me. If that's what you are hoping for, I mean, I think a lot of people are more susceptible than I am, and a lot of people maybe have just been waiting for an excuse to get in the gym. But I will tell you that this show is definitely going to piss some people off. I watched this with May, who immediately was, we'll say, triggered by the weight, because the main girl, she's 5'3", and she only weighs like 125 pounds or something, and the show acts like she's a like monstrous fat ass, basically. Like they portray her I mean, for the most part, she's drawn to just look fairly normal, and I mean, she's plenty hot as it is. She doesn't really need to lose weight, but like sometimes they'll draw her looking like really pudgy, and her friend, is kind of egging her on, like telling her that she's fat. Of course, this friend is super swole, as we'll find out later, but like, it feels like the show is suggesting that this character is fat, since she's portrayed eating constantly and not working out, and it says she has a 35% body fat percentage, even though, like, if you plugged in her height and weight into a BMI calculator, it's nowhere near that. Not that that's reliable, but point being that this show, it might give you an eating disorder if you take it too seriously. So, if that bothers you, if the fact that it is suggesting that this character is overweight when she is at what I think most people would consider, like, not just like a target weight, but like perhaps even below their target weight, then that might be a hiccup. But otherwise, yeah, it's a fun time. I won't say I got a ton out of it, but I will continue watching it because I had enough fun, and I hope that it develops more of a plot. I mean, there's a bunch of other characters who've yet to be introduced. I don't really know if it's planning to have any overarching ambition besides just losing weight, gaining muscle. I don't know if the characters are going to try to compete or something in a bodybuilding competition, something that would give it some narrative stakes to involve me more seriously would be nice. So anyway, that was the okay show I watched. Next up, we have Astra Lost in Space. Now, I read the first volume of the manga of this in the old Manga Mondays. You can see the old video for that if you search for it, or in the 8 hours of manga reviews and recommendations that I did. And overall, I thought the manga was just okay. It did not inspire me to continue reading it, but its biggest strength was that it had a bunch of really cute girls, really attractive character designs. It was sort of a dramedy. It was like a interpersonal conflict that is at times portrayed as funny, and then at other times portrayed as more dramatic. Sort of, ensemble cast, character study a bit, but nothing all that deep or serious. It's mostly about these characters being lost in space, a very traditional sci-fi story. So with the anime, I think they were trying to make it more like tonally rich, like they were trying to go for a little bit more seriousness and drama in the more dramatic parts. Like, the show opens up with what I would best describe as a send-up of Gravity, the movie Gravity, where, it's got one of the girls just kind of floating in space. She's a CGI model, and she's, like, using these little jet propellers on her suit to move around. You hear her heavy breathing, it's kind of dramatic. It's very, again, similar to the opening of Gravity. But from there, we cut into, like, the start of the story, and there's a long sort of introductory period to all the characters getting onto the ship and all that. This first episode is 50 minutes long, by the way, and for some reason the early part of the episode is portrayed in like a vignette where they have black bars at the top and bottom of the screen, like a smaller aspect ratio, which would be great if there was anything aesthetically interesting happening in between those black bars, but the show doesn't look very good. And it's weird, because the character art looks fine, like the character designs are translated pretty well to animation, the girls are still pretty cute, the animation's not terrible, but the backgrounds are hideously ugly. The general like color aesthetic of the show doesn't really work that well. It just feels very stiff and bland. It doesn't feel like a good translation of the manga to screen. Overall, it felt weird. It was a weird look that I did not appreciate at all. And it was also bizarre because there were so many comedic scenes. Like, this early part of the story is sort of lighthearted and, rollicking, if you will, and yet the use of the black bars really makes it feel dramatic and kind of serious, so you don't get the effect of the comedy. All of it falls flat. The timing of jokes isn't very good. The aesthetic doesn't really complement humor. The music doesn't really complement humor. Overall, it was just an awkward feeling beginning of the episode, and as it went along, I just felt myself quickly not wanting to have anything to do with it. I think I made it about 5 minutes in before I was like, okay, I'm done. Then I noticed it was 50 minutes long. I skipped through here and there. Didn't really look like it was going to pick up. So this is one where I'm just going to say straight up, skip the anime, read the manga if you're interested. I don't think they did a good job adapting it. But that, of course, is not the worst anime of the season or the year. The worst anime I've seen so far in 2019 has to be Maou-sama Retry, which is, or is it Restart? I don't remember. It's about a guy who gets teleported into a video game world that he actually created himself. The presentation is basically just, this is Overlord again, except that he outright has administrator abilities inside of this world, so it's yet another ludicrously overpowered, character in an isekai world. I mean, he's the actual admin of the game, so I don't know how anything could possibly happen to him, but it's not bad enough that it's horribly generic. It is so unbelievably just underwritten and underproduced in every facet. The backgrounds look fucking terrible. The character designs look fucking terrible. The only character design that is even remotely noteworthy is the main girl, who is literally just blonde Rem. Like, they took Rem and Ram from Re:Zero and they said, what if there was a third sister in between them? And that's the character. She has the same gradient and everything. And why not, right? Because Rem was like the most popular fucking anime character of the last 5 years. She's got unbelievable amounts of merchandise. If this move worked, it would pay off big time. But it's so unbelievably, blatantly cynical that I can't imagine anybody would be down for this. Like, I can't imagine anybody would look at this and not laugh at the plagiarism tier originality of this character. And, the main guy, I don't know what they were thinking with this dude. He's, presented as, a Yakuza or something. He's got, a black trench coat that's full of knives and, a fucking mullet. And his voice is awful. He has this terrible put-on gruff voice. It sounds like shit. The music sounds like shit. Everything about this show is just as badly produced as you could imagine. And it really had me thinking that it was going to be a parody. Because, early on, he gets teleported to the other world and it does the usual anime's getting lazy with its meta thing where he says, if I had known this was gonna happen, I would have read more light novels. Self-aware humor. Except that nothing else about it is self-aware at all. I guess it's self-aware insofar as they are aware of what the tropes are and that they are going to do them exactly the same way as every other show in the hopes that that will mean success. Except that if you do it worse than any other show that's ever done it, why would anybody pick your show when they could just go watch that one again? I mean, I know people favor the new. I know people will just watch the exact same thing over and over. But, when it's this much markedly worse, even dipshits are going to notice. I don't even like Re:Zero, and that show is vastly superior to this one. It's unbelievable that they would put together something this hackneyed, this trite, this fucking uninspired, and this cynical. It's a sight to behold. I made it about halfway through the episode. I skipped through to see if maybe something subversive was going to happen later, if the wool was going to be pulled up from over my eyes, but no, there was nothing of the sort. It's just really, really bad. So, that was today's anime. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll support me on Patreon if you do. If you become even a $1 patron, there is like 48 hours of exclusive content that will be immediately available to you. As a $5 patron, you can nearly double that with the podcast. So, you know, there's lots of shit you get if you become a patron. And also, I'm going to be selling t-shirts soon. I thought I'd be putting out an ad for that today, but I haven't gotten my shipping prices nailed down yet. So I'm just going to keep mentioning it so that you get pre-hype for it. Or so that maybe if you're seeing this video like after that ad is already out, you'll go, I wonder if those t-shirts ever came out. Oh shit, there's the ad right there. Also, make sure that if this is the first video you're seeing from me for a while, that you click through my channel, because I've been putting out videos almost every day for like, you know, close to 2 months now, and a lot of people aren't getting them in their feed. So ring the stupid fucking bell. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for watching.